Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Coming up next on today's installment of SpeedGaming Live events, we're happy to present you with the Super Mario Bros. 3 Randomizer Tournament Race. I'm Teeks88, and I'm joined in the commentary booth by Growolf. How are you this evening?
I am doing great, and I am so very excited to be here today.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. So today our featured racers will be MaCobra and Stewie Cartman. MaCobra is, of course, no stranger to the SMB3 randomizer community. He's been an organizer in previous SMB3 randomizer competitive events, such as the Championship Cup that went on concurrently during the main tournament earlier this spring. And he was the winner of both the 2019 randomizer tournament as well as the SpeedGaming Live tournament, which took place in DC last year. Stewie Cartman, however, is a predominantly vanilla SMB3 runner, and he's an incredibly competitive one at that, sporting a warpless time of 51.50 and a recent PB in 100% of 111.22. And he had the honor of racing on the big stage at AGDQ earlier this year, alongside Mitch Flower Power and the Haxer. So just as a reminder of how this tournament format's going to work, it is going to be best 2 of 3, and we're going to be using our tournament bracket flag set for these 2 races. So hammers will not break locks, but we will be randomizing the enemy sets that are seen in the levels, the number of forts that you'll see in the worlds, and the world order. So Growlf, what are your predictions as far going into this race go? What are we going to be looking out for?
We're going to be looking for a lot of excitement. Look for a lot of the come down to the last world, even levels, if you will. A lot of routing changes are going to be a huge thing to be paying attention to. Both MaCobra and Stewie Cartman, no strangers, obviously, to this game. No strangers to the randomization part of it. These guys are both, they're going to be fast, they're going to be aggressive, and they're going to be looking for an opportunity to get a little bit ahead of their opponent here. So look for World 7 to be what we like to call the great equalizer. Sometimes there's more than one route you can take to get to that third island. Let's see who can get it quicker. Let's see if there's any incidental deaths. That's going to be a huge factor with the high level skill that both of these players possess. Even one death at a later part of a level is going to be a huge difference.
Oh yeah, that can't be emphasized enough, especially when having experienced some of these randomizer races themselves. There's always those handful of levels that you want to avoid at all costs, such as like 7-5, 6-6, auto scores that you can't really avoid, like 5-9 in Atlantis. And it's especially scary just going into any randomizer race just because you're going into them under-equipped and you're going through levels that you don't normally experience until later on in the game. So it can leave you pretty vulnerable, especially for a level like 3-2, where those cheap boxes can really get you when you least expect it, as we saw on Stewie Cartman's side, unfortunately. Meanwhile, we see MaCobra just finishing up real quick, and he's going to go straight for that first and only fort in World 1, and it ends up being the World 2 fortress.
Absolutely, and you're absolutely right with 3-2. It does possess such a really difficult strategy to get through those. The P speed itself on 3-2 is incredibly difficult to do in a vanilla run. And the biggest difference in that, and the reason I bring up the vanilla, is you can expect that. You can expect to know exactly where the enemies are. You can expect to know exactly how they're going to operate, how they're going to work. But as we're seeing right now on MaCobra's screen, he has enemies that you normally would not see in the vanilla popping up here. Like the Hotfoots usually don't appear at this point in the game.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well. Even the enemies that would normally spawn in midair, like the boos, can often be replaced by the dry bones. So when you're making your way over past that second thwomp, you really have to be careful of how you jump. Otherwise, you can just jump right into them.
Absolutely. And speaking about enemies that should not be here, it's everyone's favorite boss, Spaz, currently on 4-2, who is looking for a meal, but it looks like MaCobra is not going to allow that this time.
All right, we have Stewie finishing up the World 2 fort. So he's about one level behind MaCobra at this moment. Unfortunately, he lost a little bit more time taking that second death. And meanwhile, we see on MaCobra's side, we're right out of the gate with some really nasty hammer bro patterns. Just never wanted to deal with the 2 fire bros in that shallow water, especially because they can slow down your speed, and just combined with the fact that you have to do some really awkward dodging, it's not a fun situation to be in at all.
No, absolutely not. And there is actually a little bit of a way to get through that if you are small. Obviously, you don't want to do it unless you absolutely positively have to. And sometimes you do actually get caught into a fight with a boomerang brother, or in this case, a fire bro. And if you do come to that, well, let's hope you can figure it out really quick. But other than that, you do want to have a mushroom, if at all possible, going into those.
Yeah, it's not impossible to beat those two fire bros in shallow water with Small Mario, but I found that more often than less, you never want to just go aggressively at them right at the gate, because those fireballs will get you pretty much no matter what. And then afterwards, you pretty much have to hope and pray that they don't jump at the same time you do.
Absolutely. But over with a what we like to call a Fred level, we've got the airship for World 1 at the end of World 1. Also, one thing to mention with some of the things that we do randomize is that we will randomize the amount of hits that it does take for a Koopa Kid to go down, as well as them being earthquakey if possible. So anywhere from 1 to 5 hits is what it will take to take down a Koopa Kid, and it will also possibly be an earthquake pattern as well. So they're heavy and they do shake the screen, thereby causing Mario to stand still where he's at for a few seconds. One thing that is normal, though, is that every Koopa Kid will represent their home at the end. Therein, you saw Larry at the end of World 1. 2, you'll have Morton. World 5 we just entered, we'll see Roy.
Yeah, and I know we had mentioned this a little while ago when we were talking about the Cheep Cheeps in level 3-2 and their awkward hitboxes, but one thing about the collision detection in this game is that if you and the enemy are colliding into each other at past a certain velocity threshold, you two pretty much go into each other, and that's how you can pretty much trigger damage. And I know this element is especially attributed to Iggy in the vanilla game, but considering virtually any of the Koopaling bosses, patterns can be shuffled. As you had mentioned, Growlwolf, to which ones can quake and which ones don't. Sometimes they can jump really fast and really high, like pretty much out of orbit, and that can trigger some of the some abrupt damage as well. So that's something to keep in mind as you're going through some of these fights as Small Mario.
Absolutely. There are a lot of things that can go wrong in a Koopa fight, and the biggest thing is just making sure that you give yourself as best of a chance as you can to get out of it, because once you get into a fight for so long, especially with a couple of the Koopa Kids who like to keep things on the screen, such as Wendy and Lemmy, both of them, the longer the fight goes on, the more in trouble you get. So we'll be looking for a lot of quick fights as well. Also, for the guys that do Earthquake, like Morton Roy and Ludwig von Koopa, watch for that very high jump, because that will affect how our players run them.
All right, and right here we see in the last Hammer Bro fight, we have our first P-Wing of the game. So that's definitely something you want to have on reserve for a level like the World 6 airship or for the first World 7 fort. So that'll offer them a nice shortcut straight to the Boom Boom fight.
A very nice World 5 for our runners. They're not going to have to play much at all to get through this. We see MaCobra currently working on his level from World 2, and then he'll be on to the castle straight away.
You hate to see it. Sometimes you have Cheep Cheeps that behave like boss passes, so if you end up putting one of them out of commission early on in the level, they can pretty much respawn out of thin air and then just snipe you as soon as you're approaching the goalpost.
Absolutely. It is a very difficult thing to do at times. That, like you said, the Cheep Cheep that likes to stay on the screen, and if you go too far, he will be right back. But MaCobra opting to take that Magic Wing he just found to the World 3 airship, which is a very good choice. You can do a little bit of a skip to get out of the cannon alley, and that will put him ahead. We'll see if he goes for the Magic Wand grab as well.
Yeah, since MaCobra has the P-Wing equipped in the airship, as long as you're able to grab the wand while it's still off screen and you don't really see Mario's head at all, you'll be able to bypass the cutscene where Mario falls through the clouds, and you can save a good 4 seconds that way. So it looks like MaCobra was able to pull it off successfully.
Absolutely. And talking about those 4 seconds that he was able to gain, Stewie Cartman lost just about the exact same by getting a star fanfare at the end of his level, the desert level with the angry sun usually. In vanilla, when I used to play it as a kid, I used to love getting the fanfare, because I could play a little bit longer that way. I didn't have to take a game over or anything like that. Unfortunately, that is not something our runners are looking for. So that's the only reason we comment on the fanfare.
Yeah, absolutely. Fanfares can especially be detrimental when you're doing a vanilla run and you have a pre-scripted way of you approaching the the strats as you go through the level to level. But I never really personally seem to mind them as much in Randomizer, just because usually races are won and lost by a greater variance than just a handful of seconds here and there.
Yeah, there's definitely a number of things that we can look for. And, we talked about World 7. We could talk about World 6. We could talk about World 3, both being kind of opportunistic worlds. In World 3, if you have two hammers, you can do an early hammer break to get through a couple rocks and maybe bypass a few levels. In World 2, there's going to be a rock that comes up on the right side, which we see MaCobra at right now. And then, in World 6, there's a couple rocks you can break that could alter your pattern and your route. So any of those can very well be a factor in terms of getting through a level very quickly, or a world very quickly for that matter. So it's not all lost, obviously, and having a couple extra lives could help. If Stewie Cartman gets hooked up on a couple of hand levels in World 8, taking that early exit is very nice to get out of those.
And yeah, speaking of matters of risk and reward, I noticed that MaCobra went for one of those boomerang bro fights before entering the pipe to come out of on the other side of the World 2 map. And it looks like it really paid off for him because he was able to get a cloud from the boomerang bro. I noticed between a lot of racers, some of them have different ways of routing, and that can also include whether they voluntarily choose to fight hammer bro fights that they can otherwise avoid. I've seen some players, take the approach to just try to avoid as many as they can because, each fight can cost you a good 10 to 12 seconds each. And a lot of times, sometimes you could just be robbed of that time because sometimes you'll get a useless item, like a star or a music box that you don't need.
So something to mention here really quick, Stewie Cartman and MaCobra are both going to take the exact same pattern, which I think is very smart here. World 1 Fortress that Stewie Cartman is currently in cannot be route critical, and meaning that it cannot block the runner from going to the castle. But as we just saw on MaCobra's screen, what it will actually do by beating Boom Boom is it will destroy the lock that's actually a shorter pattern to the castle in World 2. So I think that's a good play on both. Instead of skipping the Boom Boom fight by flying up and getting the item that's held within the castle, they are actually able to go directly to the second fort and bypass the level 2 panel.
Yeah, it was definitely a smart move just to complete the World 1 Fortress, even though it's technically not required, because sometimes they can those fortresses can break locks that can make your routing a lot easier and allow you to skip anywhere from 1 to 3 levels at a time.
Absolutely, and it's all a gamble. That's a lot of what Randomizer is, and it's one of those things you want to try to limit as much randomization and as much gambling as you have to do. But the game gives and the game takes away, so sometimes you just got to get the best option that you have and just stick it.
Yeah, there's often that temptation just to go for the item that's on the ceiling in the World 1 Fortress, but it doesn't break the lock. So since when you're in that racer mindset, you just want to go from level to level, boom, boom, boom. You're in that mindset, just constantly go. So sometimes you only have anywhere from a 1 or 2 seconds just to survey what the map layout looks like, and then just try to come up with a constructive decision making right on the spot. And that's not always the easiest thing to do.
Absolutely, and sometimes from a commentator's perspective, it's very easy to look out and say, he's got a hammer in his bag. I wonder why he didn't use it. When in all actuality, it's exactly that. You get into that mindset of just go, watch Bowser fall, fill in the blanks in between. And sometimes you forget about the items that you have in your bag, especially on the letters, the princess letters that we get at the end of every world. If there's a hammer or there's a critical item in the letter, sometimes we just click through without even seeing that.
Yeah, sometimes I just grab items and it doesn't even register what it is that I actually collected. So by the time I get to the end of World 8, it's like, I have 2 or 3 clouds that I just never ended up using. No, it's a lot more common than you think.
Oh, absolutely. And you talked about the vanilla speed runs, and there's a lot of players that are very, very, very fluent in the vanilla speedrun. I mean, you've got Stewie Cartman and MaCobra that are both very familiar and very fluid with the vanilla game. And, you know, you have certain patterns, you have certain routes that you take. You know, here I'm going to use a P-Wing, here I'm going to use a Cloud, here I'm going to, you know exactly where those are, because after time and time and time of doing that, you know exactly where those are. And you don't think about it in terms of, I wonder what to use for this level. And it does, you know, play a factor a little bit, but it's also one of those things, you know, just race. Just go fast.
Absolutely. All right, so it looks like MaCobra is going to have to backtrack because they didn't seem to find the fortress that was going to allow him to break that bridge right towards the end. So he's going to have to make a coin flip decision right here. It can be any one of those two fortresses. So it looks like he's coming up on 6F1. He does have a secondary power, which would that being the tail. So he'll have an opportunity to damage boost past those, past the spike bed and abuse those iframes. So we'll see. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say this is a very interesting part. Stewie Cartman did the exact same thing, so he doesn't know which fortress is correct either. So it's going to be interesting. This could make or break a chance for Stewie Cartman to come back. If MaCobra is incorrect here, and Stewie Cartman, who's just figured out that he has to go back and play a fort, if he picks the right one, he could gain a little bit of time back on MaCobra.
All right, so we're about to get our moment of truth right now. MaCobra's making his way past the ship now, and we'll see what fort Stewie decides to choose. Because this could be a big turning point in the race.
Very interesting. MaCobra has opted to go ahead and play the second fort, which we find as 4F2, I believe, and he's going to actually he's going to play both of them before figuring out what is the correct one, so that he does not have to come back at all. This is interesting.
And just like that, Stewie can potentially take the lead, just like that. Oh, never mind. I didn't realize that the fire kill made that much of a difference. They were pretty much neck and neck going into that boom boom hallway, and then since MaCobra still had his fire, he was still able to gain about 2 or 3 seconds. But it definitely closed the gap at any rate.
Absolutely, and Stewie Cartman with what could potentially be labeled as a very lucky draw. As Proe mentioned, he did see a screen transition, and since he was already on that side, perhaps from the Hammer Brother fight, hey, why not just play the fort here? We'll take a guess.
We see MaCobra was able to really do a good job nailing that fire kill on Lemmy. Since the shell was pretty much close to the ground, he could just get right close to it and just keep spamming away. Didn't really have to get to a higher elevation to make sure he was at the right angle to get that finicky hitbox. And as Perlin mentioned in chat, MaCobra does indeed have an advantage that he has the Declad in his inventory, which Stewie doesn't.
You know, we talked about it before, and you know, we've even seen a couple of incidental deaths on Stewie Cartman's side, but honestly, nothing matters until the big lizard falls at the very end. So, I mean, until the Bowser fight goes down, you know, this is anybody's game still. We just entered World 7. There's 3 fortresses that our runners are going to have to choose from, and only 1 lock that we see on the overworld so far. This is anybody's guess as to where we're going.
Yeah, without a doubt. Ordinarily, you can make the argument that there, you know, maybe is like a good 15 to 20 second gap between both of our racers, but it's pretty much up in the air at this point since, you know, considering how many pipe transitions you have to choose from right out of the gate in World 7, you know, we could definitely see a significant swing by the time we get to the airship.
Absolutely. I like to think of World 7 as like Yoshi's Valley from Mario Kart 64, where when you're racing, all the runners are just question marks. You don't have a clue who's where. And that's exactly how World 7 is. We could have Stewie Cartman hit the exact right fortress here and be done. Or he could have to play all 3. You know, you just don't know.
All right, so Stewie's going for the vanilla strategy of using the tail to go through the underpass and bypass a lot of those tunnels that you'd have to get through with the rotodisc. Some really good dodging towards the end as he's making his way to Boom Boom, and he'll have a nice fast fire kill to close things out. So we'll see if it pays off for him.
Yeah, I like Stewie's methodology here. You know, you see a fort, you play a fort, and I think that's just a really, really good idea because as you start to eliminate what's what, you know, MaCobra, he's on the island with 2, but there's only 1 bridge to build. So it's going to be interesting to see, which we just found out Stewie Cartman did not have the right one, as it did break a lock right before or right at the beginning.
All right, so we'll see now. Moment of truth. Will MaCobra be able to break that lock after beating Super Tank? Didn't see anything break on this screen, so it could very well be on the other side since we know that the 6F2 broke the one on the first island.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. The lock's on the right-hand side as well as the bridge. So unless he goes to the level 5 panel, I don't know that he's going to be able to see what we're looking for yet. MaCobra with a second cloud. That's going to come in very handy, especially if 7.5 and Lannis 5.9, some of those come up.
And yeah, I definitely have to agree with you about Growlwolf about, you know, if you see a fort, then just play it because you could definitely lose a lot of time if you have to do backtracking once you get the bad news that the locker or the bridge is still there.
Absolutely. I think I have an idea of why Stewie Cartman did that. You know, he took those couple of deaths at the very beginning, which does weigh on a runner's mind as you're going through that. And I think it's a very wise move to play something really aggressive at times. You know, that kind of puts your line in the sand, your foot in the sand that says, hey, I have to make something happen here. And, you know, if he was right, he was right. You know, MaCobra's going for the second or the 2 forts that are in the top middle of the islands. And, you know, you got to make it happen. And unfortunately, it just didn't play out for Stewie this time.
All right, so they're both essentially pretty much in the same spot, just making those pipe transitions through the first island. All right, so we just saw MaCobra finish up that same piranha plant that Stewie was in just now. So he's going to be he'll be collecting his first cloud in his inventory so far in this seed.
I do want to make a comment, and Human Mustard just kind of made a mention there as well. Stewie's lost in this, and I got a feel for Stewie Cartman. World 7 can get so mentally exhausting when you're trying to get through it. I know it's like, oh, you know, it's just going through World 7, big deal. But really, when you've got different pipes that go in different locations, again, comparing it back to Vanilla, you know, Vanilla has it so you know exactly where those pipes go. You know, any of our runners, Stewie Cartman, anybody that plays Vanilla knows exactly when I go into this pipe, I'm going to go out here, I'm going to be ready for 7.2, I'm going to come out here, I'm going to be ready for 7.4. You know, whatever it is, they know exactly where they're going to be going by each pipe. But because we have randomized those, you're taking a guess, and now you're just doing your best to get through each pipe and think real quickly, oh, where have I been and where am I going?
So Stewie was not only able to get that first cycle in the World 8 fort, but he was able to get a really nice dodge past the Rotodisc and the Dry Bones and not take any damage. So he didn't lose any frames as he was entering that door. Really well done on his end.
Absolutely. It looks like he's going to find the super tanks as well. Hard to tell which one's which. You know, we're not going to know which one actually builds the bridge, and that's okay. You know, it takes a lot less time for our runners to play both of these instead of go all the way back and then come all the way back and play the forts again. So kudos on his part.
Yeah, interesting choice on MaCobra's side. Looks like now that we're in World 6, he's looking to burn his cloud right away. Didn't even see what level it was going to be. But he knew at the same time that he was coming up on some level transition, so he had pretty much a free checkpoint, and he knew he was going to have to play that level anyway. So I'm pretty sure he's taking that gamble. You know, hopefully I didn't use it on something basic like the second World 8 hand, and you know I don't end up having to come across something like 7.5 or 6.6 sometime down the line. But even if I do, I still have that second cloud in my inventory.
Absolutely, and this could be a very, very, very quick World 3. At the beginning, you know, you see a couple of pipes right off the bat. You're almost guaranteed that one of them is going to go into a place where you can actually use it and, you know, kind of figure out from there. Currently, he's trying to figure out which one do I play. He's opted to take the first fort on the bottom, which he does find Pix 5 from.
Oh, yes. Looks like there's been some commentators curse, and MaCobra's coming across 6.6 as we speak. Thankfully, he's able to get a star from that block right in the beginning, so he was able to have a nice, smooth transition into the water. He's doing some really sweet dodging skills right now, so just navigating his way past the boss bass, and he's going to potentially come across some fire Venus traps as he enters these sets of pipes coming up right here.
Yeah, this is a death trap waiting to happen, death row, if you will. And all three, the fourth one did not spawn, were Venus, the fire traps, and that is very scary for runners.
Oh no.
Highly unfortunate. We'll see if he decides to replay and maybe go back to level 2. We'll see if he decides that that's required. And I think he's just realized it is not required.
Yeah, it's worth noting that those cheap Jeeps behave on a pretty consistent timer. So if you're wasting a little too much time, even just a couple frames, that can set up the cheap Jeep right to snipe you as soon as you're making your jump.
Absolutely. And it's even one of those things, you know it's coming, but sometimes you don't know it's coming, and it decides to get you anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's why I usually hope that there's going to be a Koopa shell there, so you can just throw it into one of those little pools. So it just takes it out, even though it's not visible on the screen.
Absolutely. A little patience doesn't hurt. Taking a death means you have to play the entire level all over again, which is unfortunate, but we'll have to wait and see what happens at that point.
Yeah, taking a death towards the end of 6-6 can easily cost you a good 40 seconds in a 100% run.
Oh, for sure. And, especially with a level like that, 6-6 being so long already, with the water, with just a very long, just a very long level in itself, that is a lot of time wasted, unfortunately.
All right, so Stewie made the identical decision just to use his cloud right away as soon as he got into World 3. Again, he knew that he was going to have to play that level anyway, and he's coming up towards the end of the seed, so he has only this and one more world left, so no use in letting it go to waste. So with that death, Stewie has an opportunity to close the gap, so it's just going to come down to what decisions he makes as far as the next level panels are concerned.
I do believe I misspoke. I think the pipe that is going to lead to Wendy's is behind a lock still. So we do see the 2 locks on the main islands, but which one unlocks which, we don't know yet.
All right, so yeah, that lock is still on the screen. So if there happens to be another one right on the island where the airship is, then it's pretty much open right now.
So unfortunate death on 6-6 from MaCobras, but it actually did not matter in the end. He would have played an extra fortress if required, and Stewie Cartman, unfortunately, is going to find the exact same thing here. With them playing 6-6, they're going to take themselves to a fortress that is not required. But Human Mustard is absolutely correct. They had with that death, he was able to save a little bit of time by not playing that fortress, by reevaluating and thinking, maybe I guessed wrong, and then play the other level, which was in fact faster than 6-6, and he was able to finish off a fortress to do a process of elimination. So a lucky draw, but still fortunate.
Stewie making really good use of the Fire Flower in 6-6. He's able to take out those Piranha Plants really, really easily. So he has a nice smooth transition coming out of the level, so he'll be on his way to the fort real soon.
Unfortunately, as we already know, that is the wrong fortress, but you got to play. You got to take a guess, and we do find Bowser's Air Force here, so he should hopefully be able to get through this here in the next 25 seconds or so. MaCobra coming face to face with a Big Bertha. Thankfully, he'll be able to get through that without any further issues.
Yeah, despite that dip in that first pool right there, looks like MaCobra's making a really solid recovery. He's able to get that power up coming out of the gates, and otherwise very clean 3-4.
Indeed, looking like a very quick World 4. As MaCobra looks to be positioning himself for the fortress on the left. We'll see if this 50-50 goes his way or if it's going to be the opposite.
Looks like there's a really rough enemy setup going into 5-5. Never want to get sandwiched between a Fire Chomp and a Fire Snake. Especially with all the lag it can generate, it can really mess up your movements as well. Oh, it looks like MaCobra tried to go for the door 3 trick. It is a frame perfect trick. If you go through the third door, it would normally drop you off into the water as we saw, but if you're able to press up on the first frame in which you have control over Mario, you're able to re-enter that door and then run warp into the hallway where Boom Boom is. But unfortunately, if you aren't able to get it, then it will cost you a good 11 seconds. But if you do nail it, it'll save you about 3.5 to 4.
And that trick is definitely as hard as it sounds. If you're going for a one door skip, it does get a little bit tricky at times. And it looks like Stewie Cartman was going for a skip there of his own. If you are able to hit the subpixel on the very top corner of that block, you can actually go all the way through and skip the escalator on the trip to Boom Boom.
All right, so we see MaCobra not opting to go for that power up in the World 7 airship. He's just going to power through it. He's able to get that P speed and maintain it.
That is something to note as well. We have turned the auto scrollers off for all of the fights with the Koopa Kids, so we are able to see some very interesting patterns, like MaCobra just demonstrated with the World 7 airship. You know, he's able to blow through it super quick with that P speed, which really is just impressive, and it's so much fun to see.
All right, and from the World 8 Hand 3, we see Stewie was able to pick up a Tanuki suit. See a double snipe at the end of that coin ship, so we don't have to worry about having to lose any time from those additional boomerang tosses. All right, and first level in World 8, we have 7-1, so it takes about 14 attempts before you start to lose time over doing the level normally fairly optimally.
And MaCobra having just a little bit of a trouble with the standing door clip. It looked like he was going for a crouch and now back to the standing as well.
All right, and we're finally out of there. So yeah, this is a subpixel dependent trick. So normally in the vanilla speedrun, there is a manipulation that you could do as soon as you get to the end of the Lemmy fight and you're about to grab the wand. But obviously in something like Randomizer, you have no basis to know what kind of subpixel value you're on, so it's effectively RNG, whether you get it early or not.
Absolutely, you can give it your best shot, but unfortunately sometimes the game gives and the game takes away, and in that time, it took a little while, but it finally made up its mind to help.
All right, so we see MaCobra making his way through what I consider my favorite level to be in the game, 7F2, otherwise known as Piranha Fort. So we see a really sweet damage boost in the second room, and he's able to get out of there in no trouble at all. So really well done.
I'm sorry, I don't have anything to add right now because I'm still reeling over the fact that that's your favorite level.
You heard that correctly. And there's just nothing more satisfying, especially when you're doing a run of it in the vanilla game with the Firefly or Hammersuit strats, and then just knocking out everything in front of you as you build P speed. It's the greatest feeling in the world.
All right, I'll give you that. That's fair. That's fair.
And that's contrasted by one of the more stressful levels, especially whether it's in Randomizer or the vanilla game 4F1. You have some really, really tight jumps as you're trying to navigate your way through the thwomps and the enemies that are above and below you.
Yeah, that's definitely another one that's very interesting to watch and really a lot of fun to watch for much of the same reason. I mean, if you can get a really good P-speed run through there, it's a very gorgeous run, but it's the big if of, if it happens.
And not only just nailing the timing and the precision of the jumps, but especially in Randomizer, just the enemy set that you can get, because sometimes you have an enemy like a Boo that would normally be in the place of a Hotfoot, and because it has that bigger hitbox, it doesn't matter how you time the jump, you're inevitably going to take damage anyway, so it's just another one of those risk and reward sort of things if you decide to go for it.
Absolutely. I mean, we even talked about that previously with the, just the way that Randomizer works. in regard to versus the vanilla. You know, a lot of these, you know exactly where enemies are going to be, you know exactly how they're going to operate, you know exactly what to expect, but not with a randomizer. The randomizer is going to change everything up. Instead of it being a vertical piranha that you know is going to last just a little bit longer out of the pipe than a fire breathing piranha, you know, it could be completely different, and that can make levels such as 7F2 a lot trickier in that regard.
Yeah, compared to the vanilla game where you would normally go through each of those levels in a pre-scripted way, and you know exactly what items are going to be in your inventory or what you have equipped at any given time. You don't really have that luxury in Randomizer all the time, so sometimes you'll inevitably have to just take a level like 7F2 really cautiously, and then just hope that you have something that'll allow you to go at least moderately fast, like a star, right in the beginning, without falling in the ragu, of course. Dude said before, looks like MaCobra is having some really good luck at just avoiding the hands, just in general.
Absolutely, that's something that he is no stranger to having issues with. We were just, I was reading up from Pro A and some of the others that were commenting on a race from before, where MaCobra took, I want to say it was like 8 minutes trying to get through a 6-6 hand that he had in World 8 at one point. So definitely nice to see that he's not having quite that bad of luck this time. Also, we currently have MaCobra, who is just trying to find the last fort, which very well could be this one as well, before he gets to Bowser's Castle, which does have 2 bridges.
All right, I think on my end, it looks like Stewie was able to get the off-screen 1 grab. I don't see Mario's head, so I'm pretty positive he got it. And he gets it. You love to see it.
Love to see it for sure. He did just miss the door 3 skip. Didn't even try it. He said, you know what, I got to go. He knows he's behind. So, good decision, I think. You know, it's one of those things that's very cool to see if it works, but sometimes you just got to get going.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of things you love to see, MaCobra is found the correct fort, so he has the bridges open. He's on his way through Bowser's Castle. He does have his Fire Flower equipped, so with enough luck, Bowser will be merciful to him as far as the jump pattern he gets, and he doesn't have to worry about taking damage. Oh, and he gets the swag clip first try, so he's able to bypass the statue in Fireball Room. Worth noting in this revision of the randomizer, the fireballs in that statue room are randomized, so that can it can either be a really fast transition through that screen, or it could be really detrimental and potentially lose you your power before the Bowser fight. So it's pretty usually in the racer's best interest to try to go for that clip a couple times.
What a gorgeous run from MaCobra. That was very well done. A beautiful clip at the end to set up the fight with Bowser, who did fall to 30 fireballs. Very well done. Folks, get your GGs out for MaCobra.
Yeah, really well done. GG to MaCobra, indeed.
And we have an official time from MaCobra of 35:25. So very well done to him. Beautiful.
Holy
clip.
smokes. Stewie Swagman living up to his name. He was never a stranger to trying to go for really wild risks, especially even in the GDQ race he did earlier in just this past January. But he was able to get that Jesus clip, another sub-pixel dependent trick that has really precise duck and jump inputs. He took a risk and it paid off, so he's able to save those sweet 3.5 seconds, and he made it look as cool as possible.
Absolutely. You know, it's one of those things, you know, you've already lost, so might as well ease up a little bit, kind of get comfortable inside of the race. You know, you're about to go into round 2 in a must-win situation to continue on and to ensure that you force a game 3. So, you know, I like to think that's a little bit of a burden that's lifted. You know, when you hit a clip like that, it just, for me as a runner, I really truly do get more comfortable. I kind of ease into the role of, okay, I got this. You know, just play the game. You know the game. You know the levels. You know how you're going to interact with certain levels, with certain enemies. So, you know, just buckle up and get ready for round 2.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. Oh yeah, looks like Stewie took an intentional death through one of my least favorite beta levels. Not really the most remarkable in terms of just the level layout and the platforming that's involved, but there's no real opportunity to gain P speed anywhere, and that bottom section where you would normally have to swim can be really, really awkward depending on how many bloopers and Big Berthas you get. And contrast that to this waterfall level with the 7.6 beta, which ends up having no enemies at all.
Yeah, that's an impossible one to skip. You do have to play it. Thankfully, it's not a super long level. Really, for the most part, it's how fast can you hit the A button, or depending on what kind of controller you have, how fast can you hit that jump button to just get through and be done with it.
And thanks to that star, Stu was able to get some really nice P-speed strats going through at least the first half of 3-6, level that would normally be an auto-scroller in vanilla.
Yeah, but we turned the auto-scrollers off. We have one rule and one rule only. Actually, we got more than that. But anyway, it's got to go fast. Got to go fast. You got to randomize it, and you got to go fast.
We only have 2 levels that are exceptions to the rule, where we have forced auto-scrolling for levels 5-9 and the beta level we affectionately regard as Atlantis, because without that auto-scroll turned on, it would otherwise break the level. For example, you can't even beat 5-9 without using a P-Wing to get through some of those platforms. It's pretty much the only option you have to make it playable under any circumstance. Levels that suddenly become brutal in a randomizer setting. You have 5F1, where the rotodisc's trajectory can randomly be reversed. So you have to have some really awkward dodging skills in order to make it through there safely.
Absolutely. My favorite item in that block in the middle with the Womp is a star. Because if you can get a star there, you can finish it off without having to worry about it. And unfortunately, it looks like Stewie Cartman did take an intentional death on 7F1. So he is going to have to go back now and figure out, oh wait, I missed one. I need to go back and play that now. Which this time he will come prepared with an all hands, or an all P-speed tail, sorry. And he'll be able to finish this one off no problem. So he'll come up with the right level and the right item for it, and he'll be able to take on Bowser here in just another moment.
And like MaCobra, I'm pretty positive he still has his Fire Flower in his inventory. Is that correct? Oh, we're gonna go out in style with the frog suit.
Absolutely. We got the memes in the building.
Oh no, that was a really bad setup between the rotodisc and that boo that was right there in the corner waiting. So even though we won't be able to go out and with the frog strats, we'll see if Stu was able to get a. Unfortunately, it looked like he was trying to go for the potential Fire Flower there, but looks like he's going to have to go through the Bowser fight in the statue room the orthodox way. But thankfully, he still does have that opportunity to just damage boost there and just get through there pretty seamlessly.
Absolutely. And small fight with Mario on Bowser is not that big of a scary ordeal. With the original NES game, which is what we based the randomizer off of, Bowser does not have a hitbox on his lower half, so we're able to exploit that just a little bit. 5 hits on the bricks, and that's going to be enough to get Mario, or in this case Green Mario, into the end and find the princess. So we'll be getting into game 2 here in just a few minutes.
I would say the scariest part of doing the traditional Bowser fight, just breaking through the floor, would just be getting set up underneath him, because sometimes he could jump at the same time he shoots his fireball, and you could just get sandwiched in between. But as soon as you're underneath them, then you're pretty much good to go.
Absolutely. The biggest thing is just make sure you stay in about the middle of Bowser, as things do get a little dicey out there occasionally. But definitely get your GGs in chat for Stewie. He fought very well. Throughout the entire thing, we saw a couple places where he was very, very close. And, it was just a few unfortunate circumstances. But, it's anybody's game still at this point.
Right on. GG to Stewie as well. All right, so it looks like both of our racers, Stewie and MaCobra, are just getting ready to get set up with the second race. So we'll be back shortly. And while we're getting ready for the next race to start, it's also worth emphasizing some of the other events that are going to be coming up on the SpeedGaming Live event on this channel later today. For example, 5 o'clock Eastern, we have an open block for a crowd control race. And at 6:20, we have the Ocarina of Time randomizer race between Gavarion 1 and Namaha. And at 10:15 p.m., we have a Zelda 1 randomizer between Fred Coughlin and Chessjerk. And at 11:50 p.m., we have Link to the Past randomizer with Relkin and Fear Agent.
Definitely nothing that you want to miss on that schedule for sure. Several champions are going to be playing today, as already mentioned with MaCobra52. Fred Coughlin taking on the Zelda 1 randomizer versus Chessjerk. And basically the biggest thing around this is that every one of these races is going to be worth watching. It's going to be nail biting. It is going to be worth it. So definitely recommend that you tune into those, because it's going to be a great time. SpeedGaming always does such a fantastic job. The communities always are very, very good. And the commentation is going to be wonderful as well. So definitely make sure that you're there for that also.
Without a doubt. And we're also going to have some additional events that are going to be going on concurrently on the SpeedGaming 2 channel. So, for example, we'll have at 4:20 p.m. Another Link to the Past randomizer match between Illis and Willard J. Bradley. At 6:30, we'll have Castlevania NES between Freeland 1787 and Aramis Belmont. And at 7:30, we have Mega Man X. We have a race between Gorta Diego versus ROTF Landmines. So definitely be on the lookout for those as well.
Now, I'm not a smart man, but anybody that has the name of RFTL Landmines is worth watching. So, you want to make sure that you're there for that as well. Basically, if you're on SpeedGaming on Twitch, you're going to be in for a really good time.
All right, and I just took another look at the, on the other end that's going on in the race channel. So looks like we'll be live in about 2 minutes. So if you have some time, definitely a good opportunity to grab some popcorn, grab some snacks, go to the bathroom, get refreshed, and get ready, because we're gonna have another really exciting race coming up real soon.
Looks like we're going to be getting started here in just one moment. The runners have verified the hashes and such. Let's go ahead and play one of our mini games that we do enjoy on our weekly races. Chat, go ahead and get your guesses in as to what the first world we're going to see is going to be. I'll go ahead and get things started off. I'm going to say World 6, I think, is going to be coming up first.
Yeah, I'm going to go with reverse vanilla order and just go with World 7.
All right, I think we got all 7 covered, but definitely don't let that deter you from making a guess. You know, if you want to guess with one of us, one of the commentators, you're more than welcome to do so. Or we already have a couple of guesses in chat. You're certainly welcome to guess those as well. And also, we're going to make one more hot take prediction here. I think this is going to be a longer, more grueling, if you will, seed. We've seen a couple recently, especially in races that I've been in, where the first player was finishing in like 40 minutes and 45 minutes. I'm hoping for something a little bit along that. I'm hoping for a longer, more grueling race here.
And we've seen in the first race that we've seen Stewie was on the rough end of a couple binary decisions when it came to choosing forts that would potentially unlock the end of the world map. And you know, with some deaths aside, you know, that could be attributed to some really nasty enemy and boss hitboxes. I still am convinced that Stewie has the skills and the opportunity to run this back for round 2. So it's definitely not over yet. So I'm definitely pressing to see this extend to it being a longer match.
I am getting a little bit teased in chat, and rightfully so. I have had a death touch the last, I think, 5 or 6 races I've rolled were all those very long extrudating ones I was talking about. So, you know, I didn't roll it, and because I said that we should have a long one, it's probably going to be like a sub 20. You know, we'll find out.
All right, so they both entered the first Hamburger fight as Small Mario, and already we're seeing some differences in RNG. Looks like MaCobra got the high pattern while Stewie got the lower one, so we had to be a little bit more cautious, but they're still pretty much neck and neck nonetheless. So they're both entering 5-2 at roughly the same time.
And with their color scheme, it almost looks like we've got a side-by-side 2-player matchup here with Red Mario and Green Mario.
Oh yeah, I didn't even realize that.
So it looks like, and that's one of the things that we've also allowed for randomizers as well, is they've set it up to where you can actually play a color of Mario where the shirt color changes. And MaCobra has his on a randomized, so whenever he changes scenes or even power-ups or anything like that, Mario's color will change as well, whereas Stewie has gone with the green Mario, so he will always be representing that green color. The more you know. So we got another 50-50 matchup here in World 4 with 6F2, Elsa's Frozen Castle, or Frozen Fortress of Solitude. That's it. Elsa's Frozen Fortress of Solitude, as it's sometimes referred to as. And both runners are currently going through it, so we'll have to see if they're right or if they have to go find the other one.
Right on. Really clean transition through 6F2. So moment of truth. Does it open the bridge? And it does.
Both runners with the correct 50-50, so that's very exciting to see. You know, you definitely want it to be a very close race. You want it to be exciting and nail-biting. You know, you don't want a blowout. At least I don't. I want something that's going to be really tight, really exciting. And, you know, with these runners, we certainly should get it this time.
Yeah, definitely no doubt in my mind. Oh, did you see that? MaCobra got the clip, so he's able to save a good 4 seconds just making his way through the World 6 airship, just widening the gap just that slight bit more.
I saw it and I loved it. That was a beautiful clip by MaCobra. Not one that you'll see in the vanilla run all that often, but definitely one that's very popular to do here. You know, it's a really good way to get through World 6 airship really fast. Very nicely done. Unfortunate for Stewie Cartman. That Iggy hitbox was just too much for him this time.
Yeah, just barely got chipped on the side there. But now that Stewie knows what ship he's going to play, he's able to get back to that Lemmy fight. I'm sorry, the Iggy fight really quick since he has that P-Wing equipped. Really good choice. So really wasn't much of a time loss on his end.
No, hopefully not. And with as much as we have to go, this is World 1. Iggy is one of 6 or 7 Koopas that you're going to have to play, 6 more to go. You know, one little issue, no big deal. Shake it off, get the mental block out. And actually, that's going to set him up very nicely for the next fortress that he's about to play that we currently see MaCobra going through, and that is 7F1, also known as Fort Knox.
Stewie was able to clean up a little bit of that time loss because he was able to get the off-screen 1 grab, so that saves him another 4 seconds as well. Second one we've seen from him tonight.
Yeah, definitely a nice one to see. You know, the timing isn't that difficult, but being able to get through there very quickly is really nice. And, you know, it looks really cool, too. You know, that's one of the biggest things. I think for half the tricks, or I would say even more than half the tricks that we do, they just look really neat. They really truly do.
Yeah, looking really good, being able to see the tail quick going to Fort Knox like that, having a really nice shortcut to the Boom Boom fight as well.
Absolutely. That's one of the quickest forts to play if you do have the tail, but it's also one of the slowest if you are small Mario going into it. Both runners did have the tail going into it, so no further time lost on Stewie Cartman's part, and he's going to be rewarded here in just a moment with a cloud, as we just saw on the MaCobra screen. So pretty tight race so far.
Yeah, really nice to see the Fire Flower equip going to 6-8 as well. Unfortunately, not able to build P-Speed going through those little hills right in the beginning, but thankfully he's able to at least clear a path for himself by taking out a really nasty enemy set. It looks like it was the 7-8 set with those nippers and patuis pretty much littered throughout the screen.
I can't help but think Stewie Cartman has a little bit of a heads up here with the flower, because we've already seen 6F2 and we've seen 7F1, which are 2 of the most useful tail fortresses that you would bring a tail on. So I have to believe that the fortress, or the Fire Flower here on Stewie Cartman's screen, is going to be a very good decision going into this next world. Just with the ability to use the P-Speed and not have to worry about the 250 frames timer. I hope to see a little bit of a timer change here as well for Stewie Cartman.
Yeah, you mentioned Stewie having an advantage with that Fire Flower, and he was fully able to take advantage of it with that fire kill on Larry in the airship. So he was able. He saw that he didn't jump right away, so he was able to get his opening shots in and then get a stomp and then just follow it right up. Not really something you have luxury to do in Randomizer, since you don't know what pattern you're going to get. Because boss patterns do operate on a timer that starts from the last level you finish to the time you enter the pipe. That's something that you can manipulate for in the vanilla game, but there's a lot more improvising involved in Randomizer. So really good to see it work out in his favor.
An unfortunate dry bones dropping from the sky there will remove the Fire Flower from Stewie Cartman.
Yeah, when you've played enough stage, you kind of take for granted that you should never take the you should never trust the enemy set in the World 2 fort. There's almost always going to be a dry bones dropping down from where Stewie was. So it's always pretty advisable to at least do a little turn back with your jump as you're making your way past that last swamp.
Absolutely. A P-Speed strat in a World 2 fortress, and in fact in a lot of the levels, is a luxury, not necessarily the thing that you should be doing.
Oh. Yeah, it looked like Stewie tried to go for the vanilla strats with the P-Speed build in the beginning of 3-4, but yeah, pretty common issue that you can sometimes come across is that if you jump at the wrong angle, you can hit a bad pixel and then just come to a dead halt just like that. Yeah, it looks like it's not the first time any SMB3 runner has been in that situation before, so thankfully Stewie was able to recover that situation really well.
Yeah, thankfully the enemy set was such a way to assist with that. You know, he didn't have something very scary to the point where he couldn't like bounce off one of them and keep going. And a beautiful first clip on 7.6 for Stewie Cartman. You love to see it.
Yeah, it's not very common that you're able to get it first try with the tail because you accelerate slightly differently than if you were a regular Big Mario or a Firefly or a Hammer Suit, etc., compared to if you had the tail. So if you're able to get it first try in in a situation that you didn't prepare for, it's you definitely count your blessings.
Absolutely. And an unfortunate set of circumstances here for Stewie Cartman. MaCobra just got almost the equivalent of an early hammer. He did get a hammer before the rock, so he was able to utilize that to get a skip on 2 of the levels. Now Stewie Cartman has both of the Hammer brothers currently below where he currently is now, so provided they don't move too far, he should be able to at least hit one of them, if not both. We'll see if he does actually go back and play them, because if not, that is going to change the difference between him having that hammer that MaCobra just used and potentially a second item versus not having them at all for his disposal. We see a magic wing being the item that MaCobra was able to grab, and that is going to make it 3 for him. Stewie Cartman doing exactly what we just talked about, and he is not going to opt for playing the Hammer Brothers. So that is going to be a hammer that he does not receive, that MaCobra was able to utilize to get several levels ahead at this point. He is in the finishing up 3-2, whereas Stewie Cartman is trying to work on the airship with Morton.
Yeah, it looks like he tried to go for the aggressive fire kill, but unfortunately he was able to unfortunately got closed out by some of those really nasty quakes on Morton.
This is going to be a very tumultuous play for him, and one that he's going to have to get around, because with that kill from Morton, that's a hard one, and that's one that you're going to really have to pay attention to and be careful with, because that can kind of start to affect you and can get difficult.
Yeah, and we see as MaCobra enters the World 3 map, the first level he encountered was 7-5, so definitely one of the uglier enemy sets, because you have one of those cheeps that behaves like a boss bass, so if you do kill it pretty early, it could just pretty much respawn and snipe you at any time. So rather than put himself through all that trouble, really good use of that class to just bypass it altogether, and then equip a P-Wing into the next level so he has that extra insurance policy.
Absolutely. That's a very good decision. 7-5 can play a lot of havoc on a runner, especially with the cheap that we saw. That cheap will come back no matter where you are. So whereas the boss pass will actually stay on a level, so if you take it out and then have it respawn on the top, it will always be in the top. Whereas the cheap, he misses you. So he will not just remain on one level. He'll come and find you. Stewie Cartman able to get through that 3-2, and he is about to find 7-5 as well. We'll see if he decides to do the exact same play. He does have that cloud from World 1 as well, so I'll expect to see a early death here and then move on to... I take that back. 7-5 is going to get played from Stewie Cartman.
Yeah, I can imagine he's only holding out for his cloud in case something like 5-9 or Atlantis comes along. Looks like he's trying to capitalize on manipulating that cheap into an elevated section where he doesn't really have to put himself in danger as he approaches the exit. So we'll see if it pays off for him. See if he's able to pull off the clips in the meantime.
Yeah, there's a good possibility that this could take longer than 5-9, and especially depending on what clips you do or do not get. And in this case, okay, that's interesting. Stewie Cartman did not take the tail there. I think I would have, because you could have taken out the block underneath the wall to the right. That's interesting to me.
Yeah, I probably would have grabbed that leaf as well, because he at least has enough time in his timer to generate some flight to get past where he would have to build the block bridge going to the exit.
Yeah, and with the P-Speed ability to fly over that as well, or at least jump and do a glide over, he could have shaved off a lot of time, and if he built this P-Speed here, he could have flown over this gap. So very interested to see why that was the factor.
I can only imagine that in that moment he chose not to take the lead because it would allow him to do the clip a little bit cleaner. Looked like he already committed to making that decision.
That's a fair point. That is a fair point.
Yeah, it looks like he tried to go for the clip and then just got sideswiped by that Koopa, unfortunately. So he's gonna have to do a little bit of a roundabout to get to the end here. Meanwhile, we see MaCobra finishing up the World 3 overall. So up next we have World 5.
Overall, a very quick World 3 in general, and actually the first 4 have been very fast. We've got MaCobra already into World 5 with not even a 14-minute timer, so very well done on his part so far. He is flying.
Ooh, and we get a hammer suit for the effort.
Which means that all of the hand levels will have a hammer suit. So if we see another one come up, we might see some hammer strats come out. We'll see if that does actually play a factor.
I can't recall if that's his only hammer suit that's in his inventory, but at least we can secure a quick kill on Bowser if he decides to hold it after that, which more often than less we'll see randomizer races tend to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It can take a little bit more time to get the hammer suit in an any percent no warp for a vanilla speed run. But yeah, that will definitely be something that the runners will hold on to as a hammer suit, as you can get it as an item throughout the game as a reward from one of the Hammer Brothers. Very interesting strategy here. MaCobra did not opt to play the fortress on the bottom level. I'm very curious to see if that's going to come back to haunt him. If that's the only fortress in World 5, then it will definitely not be necessary. It was not a blue fortress, though. Apparently in this house, we only play blue fortresses. Today I learned.
Yeah, I've heard that there has been a general rule of thumb that that blue fortresses correspond to blue locks, but I've found some exceptions to the rule where it's actually the brown fort as well. So I've given up on trying to figure out the meta for complicated World 5s and just do what happens to be nearest me.
It's a good thing that MaCobra can't hear us right now because he did skip the fortress. That was the only one, which means it would have been linked to the bridge and therefore was not necessary. He is at the fort, or he is at the castle now, and going with a little bit of swag on the statue kill. Very nicely done.
Indeed.
Unfortunate death from the side of Stewie Cartman. He did take on a couple of sledgehammer bros who decided that they did not want to let him pass, and he's going to unfortunately have to replay that. And from MaCobras, there's everyone's favorite. A wild Tanuki appears. Command?
All right, so Stewie's going to be closing out the World 3 map, so he's going to be making sure that he's prepared for Windy Koopa, so definitely a good choice to equip a secondary power-up like the P-Wing, be able to bypass a lot of the large platforming gaps in the World 4 airship as well. So we'll see if we're able to... Ooh, I stand corrected. I was going to say if he was going to be able to get that third off-screen wand grab.
Probably with a hot take on the second half of the game will be Vanilla World Order. Very well could be. I mean, oh, I'm sorry. It absolutely is. Sorry. Process of elimination only works if you use it. It looks like MaCobra is going to be able to use a damage boost to get through there real quick. Very nicely done. That, you know, having the tail can affect the runners and their ability to go through fortresses and others with the tail. So being able to use the tail as a damage boost is a very good play.
Yeah, really impressive flutter strats. I mean, when you are flying with the tail, it does slow you down a little bit, but at least when you take that damage from that thwomp, you know exactly where you're going to drop down, so you can time your jumps accordingly.
Absolutely, definitely a very good play there. MaCobra.
Wow, a really impressive E-speed build with the star and doing those turnbacks.
Absolutely, very nicely done for sure. There's only so much room on some of those platforms. Getting in and actually building that P-speed is very nicely done on his part. And I mean, it was able to get him through very quickly and cleanly on that. Very nice done. Very nicely done.
Ooh, we see that Sledge Bro giving MaCobra the business in 2-4. And then we see a little bit of some frame ruling going on with the gaps towards the end. But nonetheless, still able to get through there really well.
Kind of an interesting choice from MaCobra's part here. He was positioned to have either a fortress or a desert level, and he ended up taking the panel 4, which has obviously come up as the desert level. But I'm a little interested as to why he did not take the fortress there.
I'm guessing he's done some process of elimination as he was making his way through the World 6 map and knows that there's probably a lock on the former half that would allow him to just go through there smoothly.
I'm just going to go ahead and call that a 200 IQ play because that was very well positioned. He ended up being a lot quicker through the desert level, I think, than he would have been on a fortress, especially depending on which one it was. 7F2, 8F1, any of those could have been very tumultuous and taken a lot of time out of his run. So, I mean, great job. That was a very good call.
Yeah, if faced with the decision, I would definitely like to play the Angry Sun level over something like 7F2. Not because I don't like the Fortress, which I unironically do, but just considering in terms of time, it's there's no comparison.
Yeah, and a very good call out here from Clairs.com. MaCobra can definitely take risks at this point. He is up a game. It's a best of 3, so you win one more, you're done. Take a couple gambles. See, maybe use a rock where you wouldn't usually, maybe take a shot at a boomerang brother that you normally wouldn't need. And, see what happens. And here, I mean, he's just playing everything so perfectly. 21 minutes. We just entered World 7, which also is Vanilla World 7. One more to go and you're fighting the big boss Bowser. I mean, you have nothing to lose at this point. Looks like Stewie Cartman kind of doing the exact same thing that MaCobra just did. He opted to use a hammer and get himself out of playing a fortress. So the fortress that would have been seen is obviously not 7F1 or 7F2, I apologize, because we currently see MaCobra going through that on World 7.
And I just mentioned 7F2 earlier, and lo and behold, I managed to summon it.
We need to get you talking about Atlantis now. Maybe a emerald? We'll see.
We'll see, in theory.
MaCobra having just a little bit of a problem with that top block on the staircase. He did take he got slowed down from that. Almost like tripping up the stairs, It happens, but he's able to obviously get through there really quick and take on Boom Boom. So he'll be going to play the next fortress as well. So Atlantis is one of the few levels that we have from the lost levels. There's games that were included in the code that weren't actually inside of the game, so it wasn't one that you actually got to play. Such levels were like 1.5. We have a beta 1.5. where there's some buzzy beetles. There's a couple of Pradas that like to hop up and down, and has the very tunnel-esque feel that 1.5 has. 1.6 much the same. We've actually changed it, so it was finished off, I believe, by Fred, and was included in the randomizer, and was given a lot of extra enemies that were scary. So Atlantis is one of those that's it's an auto-scroller, and it's been left as an auto-scroller, but it's a almost 100% underwater auto-scrolling level that has a bunch of the electro jellies. It's got a random array of enemies, as well as the golden cheeps, which were featured on the box but never were actually in the game. And we have already seen 7.5, but we have not seen 6.6, so maybe do a 6.6 into Atlantis. We'll see.
Yeah, just bring the whole trifecta home.
You know, might as well. Do the hand bridge, make it forced required, and, you know, throw some 7.5. Well, we've already played 7.5, but maybe do 6.6. You know, maybe throw in some Atlantis in there. Maybe 5.9. Go ahead and throw it in there. I mean, honestly, we're just trying to make this a little more interesting, make it a little bit longer for you all. You know, we don't want you guys to feel like you didn't get your money's worth today. So, you know, we'll see if it actually happens. We've got MaCobra currently doing a bouncy frog strat. That's the scientific term for it.
Yeah, Growell's not saying he wants the runners to suffer, but he kind of wants them to suffer.
I mean, I only want that because I've seen it happen to me multiple times. So, you know, I'm equal opportunist.
Fair enough.
Yeah, as said before, I was hoping for a long, grueling seed. And at this point, you know, we're definitely not getting that, as we've got MaCobra currently in finishing up World 7 at 25 minutes. So very good chance of a sub 30 here, still depending on how World 8 goes. Starting to get a little bit away, but certainly a low 30 can definitely be possible as well.
Yeah, a typical World 8 will typically take a good 4 minutes or so, but we definitely can have a situation, as uncommon as it is, where you just play one fortress and it's pretty much the one that you need to get to Bowser's Castle, and you know you have a linear path just to get straight to the end goal. So we'll see how it turns out. This could still definitely be a sub 30 pace if we get lucky here.
It is possible for sure. I was playing one, I believe just yesterday actually, where I went in, I played 3F1, took one pipe, and I was already at Bowser with a bridge built. So, you know, it is possible. It is definitely possible. I'd have to go back and find the seed. But, you know, it's one you love to see, and it feels really, really good when it happens. Teeks, you are getting just a little bit of pushback on that. When you were saying the average of 4 minutes, I was thinking like 8, 9. But I mean, 4 minutes for you, I could totally believe it. Apparently, Human Mustard, Leslie Pro, they don't agree.
I guess in their defense, that time can definitely fluctuate depending on what you get as your level panels and possibly hand RNG as well. Looks like Stewie tried to go for that Jesus clip in 5F2 and didn't quite work out as well as it did last seed.
You know, at this point, you got to believe that you have to make some plays to make something happen. So whether or not MaCobra is trolling right now, I mean, obviously he would have to speak to that. You know, and Stewie Cartman, it's one of those things, you know, go for the swag. There's a very good chance you're behind at this point. I don't know of a race I've been in where I didn't think I was behind at some point. And we do see the upside down pipe for Stewie Cartman, so he was able to utilize the other one. Still really cool to see.
Ooh, we see MaCobra get the door 3. Really nicely done.
Definitely something to mention here is how good these runners are, to the point where they could even showcase different little quirks, different little things that are just really awkward, little funny tricks. You know, it just makes it fun. It's a very good game. It's been out for 30 years now, 32 in Japan. And it's beautiful. It's just a really, really good game. It's got a great fan base, and just being able to see some of the tricks and stuff of, you know, what they did then versus what they can do now is very exciting. and being able to showcase that is quite unusual, but it's also a lot of fun.
Yeah, I definitely can't stress that enough. I mean, for a game that's well over 30 years old now, it's just really remarkable how much the community continues to push this game in terms of speed strategy and routing. New discoveries are being made pretty much every year.
Absolutely, and even the fan base is changing throughout the years. I mean, this time last year, I wasn't involved with Super Mario Brothers 3 Randomizer at all. I wasn't speedrunning, I wasn't doing anything like that. But since, I believe, March, it's been really cool. Boom, Atlantis, we got it!
Oh, man. Hate / love to see it, depending on your perspective.
Yeah, it's not required, but at least we found Atlantis, so there you go. Stewie Cartman having a very difficult time with 7F2. A couple of missed jumps, a couple of missed inputs has put him in a place where he's only got 1 life left. And that's going to be just a little bit scary when he starts playing hand levels, because that will mean he has to play the level as well.
Oh yeah, considering it's pretty much down to the wire now, Stewie definitely does not want to be in a situation where he has to play Atlantis.
Absolutely. And with both runners, well, with Stewie Cartman trying to get to World 8, and with MaCobra already in World 8, I do believe Stewie Cartman may be on the side of tilting at this point, as Claire's.com did mention in chat. It's one of those things you've had to play so many levels so many times, and at this point, you have to believe you're behind. And unfortunately, you've got to make some aggressive plays, and it just did not pay off this time. MaCobra finds himself in a very iconic stage of 1-2, and not going to be able to utilize any P-Speed strats here, especially with the enemy set that he does have. He'll take a mushroom for good measure. And with this being a hand level, I'm almost a little surprised he's playing it, other than he just doesn't want to have to take the deaths to restart and try it again and see if you can get through. We will be coming up to another hand level, though, and he is going to get sucked in by that. We'll see if he decides to play this one. Looks like he has decided to not to.
Yeah, he still has a couple more lives to burn, so he could definitely afford to keep taking those coin flip chances. And the unfortunate thing is that he's going to have to cross that hand tile once again once he finishes 6F1. Ooh, he takes death, just barely miscalculates that jump and rubs the platform.
And thankfully, does not have to play the hand level again, so he'll be able to go right back to the fortress. Meanwhile, here in about 15 seconds, Stewie Cartman is going to be getting into World 8. So we definitely hope to see some very good strategy on his part. At this point, I mean, the only hope that we could possibly see here, I think, is that a hand level takes MaCobra way too many times to get through, and Stewie Cartman finds the right one, the right time. We'll see what happens. Stewie Cartman able to figure out exactly what MaCobra knows, and that is that he does have a single bridge that he has to build. We'll see if he's able to find it here really quickly. Meanwhile, MaCobra has equipped that Hammer Brothers suit, doesn't take the star, doesn't need it. Beautiful bottom of the escalator clip.
Beautifully done.
Be in his fight with Bowser here in just a moment.
All right, we saw a first try clip into the Bowser room. Will we get it again?
I believe it's like 3 or 4 times of trying at the clip here will actually save you a little bit of time. MaCobra going out with a beautiful finish. He was able to go 3 for 3 with his clips, although the last one took a little bit longer, but we don't count those. We'll still count it as a first try.
Yeah, I want to say it takes about 20 to 25 seconds to completely clip through that wall. So depending on how cautious you have to be in the statue room and whether or not you take damage or not can definitely play a role in whether you save time. And Stewie Cartman is able to get a door 3 in 3F1. Really nicely done on his end as well.
Yeah, very nicely done. That's one that you love to see. Both runners actually hitting it this time. That's a little uncommon, but very well done.
Right on. Ladies and gentlemen, get your GGs out from MaCobra52 with the 2-0 sweep. So he'll be advancing on to the next round.
And just pulling up the bracket here, we have MaCobra taking on the win against Stewie Cartman, and he will be playing the winner of the Pro A 007 versus Sharkid matchup. So we'll be seeing that here soon, hopefully. And as we continue on, also while I have the brackets up, you are going to be taking on Raikou Rider in your very first match. Any thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, I've actually faced Raikou Rider in a previous Randomania tournament, if I'm not mistaken, and I know he's been doing SMB3 Randomizer for quite a long time, and he's quite a skilled runner for himself. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that works out.
Absolutely, going to be a good one for sure, and it looks like we've got Stewie Cartman on the right track. From the actual race time room that we had an official time from MaCobra of 32:48. So not quite the sub 30 that we were looking for, but still a very fast seed, no less.
Indeed, a sub 33 for SMB3 Randomizer. No matter what, that's definitely not a time to scoff at for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I think I've probably hit a 33 once, if that. But brackets is one that it can be a little bit dicey at times. You know, it's one that can definitely, take a lot longer, because in some of our other flag sets, we've got the group 2, you can break rocks and locks with hammers. With some of the others, I mean, it really can go a lot quicker. And of course, if we do anything with a warp whistle, you're looking at possibly being into 20 minutes. At low 20s potentially. But for a brackets run where we don't allow a whole lot, and you actually have to play it the honest route of going through the fortresses, a low 30 at any point is fantastic. It's a very good run. Very well done on his part for sure.
I can wholeheartedly agree with that. Oh, he had a really awkward Batui spawn in that 1-2.
Indeed, this is a very dicey enemy set, not one that you really want to see as the runner. For us, it's a lot of fun, but for them, it's very scary, because those don't go away when you slide down the hill. They do not play nice at all. So unless you have a fire flower or a star, you're going to be fighting hard.
All right, looks like Stewie found Bowser's Castle. He has his hammer suit equipped, and he's ready to go charging in there.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get a couple of good clips on his part as well. Looks like he's going to play one just a little bit differently here.
Ooh, it looks like he tried to go for the basement clip. I guess he was banking on a Dry Bones being there so that he could bounce into that tunnel clutch where the thwomp was, and then just clip right into the statue room. Unfortunately, it didn't seem to work out though with the hotfoot being where it was.
No skin off his back though, as he was able to come right back and hit a escalator, bottom of the escalator clip first try. That was very beautifully done on his part.
Ooh, and he gets a first try clip going to the Bowser room.
Absolutely gorgeous. 3 for 3 first tries on all 3. Stewie Cartman's going to be finishing up here in just a few moments. We'll get the official time. And chat, definitely get your GGs out for Stewie Cartman as well.
Here's Bowser, and bye, Bowser.
All right, we were just provided a schedule update. Now, folks, you are not going to want to miss this. I guarantee it. In about 27 minutes, so 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, which is going to give you plenty of time to get up, stretch your legs, walk around, check and see what other people are doing around, and then come right back, because there is going to be a Super Mario Maker 2 Germ Dove versus Zero Planes right here. It's going to be exceptional. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be very exciting. So be here for that, seriously.
Yeah, I can't wait to get in on that action myself. It'll be really fun to watch.
Oh, for sure. Super Mario Maker 2 has just been such a great game. It's been very interesting just to see the way that it's come around. You know, just even hopping on and playing some levels. If you love Mario, if you love all things Mario, there are some very, very creative levels there. There's some very hard ones. There's some very difficult ones. There's some that you think, how on earth am I going to beat this? And then there's some that are just so incredibly ingenious in the way that they actually set up the level. So all you have to do is run to the right and it does everything for you. And there's all these kinds of bounces and things like that. I'm a huge fan. Seeing these guys play it and exhibit it is just fantastic. Don't want to miss it for sure.
Right on. So definitely do. So yeah, once again, congratulations to MaCobra52. Definitely looking forward to his matches moving forward for sure. Unfortunately, this is an early farewell for Stewie Cartman, but he did put on a fantastic show for us this evening. So do give him your GGs as well. Do please give both of these racers a follow. They put a lot of work into SMB3, both Vanilla and Randomizer. And also feel free to give a follow to the commentators as well, should you feel so inclined.
We are kind of entertaining, but that's not what is important right now. What is important is that we are joined by the former champion and the on the road to becoming champion again. We'll find out. MaCobra52, congratulations. GG.
GG.
GG's. Interesting set of seeds there.
Thoughts on either of the runs? What'd you think?
Well, as you've probably seen that first seed, some of those worlds were kind of tricky. They were kind of hard to navigate there, especially that World 3 and World 7. World 7 I was fine on. World 3 I was all over the place. I honestly don't know what was. I think I did extra levels where I didn't need to, and I was just all over the place. But let's see, World 8 was a pain, of course, and I think both seeds World 8 was kind of annoying, but ended up doing all 4 fortresses, but yeah, that's kind of expected for World 8.
Yeah, it didn't even look like there was any linear path to navigating through World 8 in either of those seeds. But yeah, it looks like you got some really good hand RNG in the first seed, but not quite in the second one either.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for those hands to strike back compared to versus last year, but yeah, it wasn't too terrible. I went and did the first hand just to get out of the way in case the second hand was worse, and just skip the second one when I could.
Yeah, depending on what the level is that you get pulled in by, sometimes it's just better to play the level rather than run the risk of just getting pulled in like 8 or 9 times. And considering how the SpeedGaming Live finals went last year, I know you don't. I know you're no stranger to that situation.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I could pull in like 9 times, I believe. And yeah, eventually I was going to play that level because it wasn't too terrible. 5-3 beta. Yeah, gladly we didn't. Unfortunately, we didn't do it. We didn't have to. So that was nice.
Yeah, 5-3 beta is definitely one of my my least favorite beta levels, just because it's so unremarkable in terms of the level structure, and there's just because of the way those pipes and the platforms are set up, there's no real reliable way to build P speed, and you're almost always going to get a really nasty enemy set as soon as you enter the water in the second half, because it's usually, let's be real, it's usually going to be littered with a bunch of Big Berthas and bloopers that are just going to lag the screen to oblivion.
Yeah, for sure. That 6-6 in Seed 1 too was one of the worst too. There was just lag everywhere, and all 4 of those the pipe gauntlet there near the end is all fire shooters, whatever you call them. Yeah, fortunately we didn't have to do that though, which was nice.
I do have a question for you real quick. In World 3, you found a pair of fortresses that were both blocked by 1 level, and you played 6-6 at one point, ended up dying. You went back, kind of reevaluated the circumstance of what the pipes looked like, and then when you came back, you actually ended up playing the other level. What was going through your head there? Were you just thinking it's going to take too much time, or kind of walk me through what was happening there?
Well, I was trying to figure out which pipe was the correct pipe. There were 2 right in the middle there, and I was trying to think which one the first one took me to, and I was like, well, sometimes there isn't necessarily a lock at the end. Sometimes you're faced with a whole gauntlet of levels, and that's all that's in your way. So I was sort of thinking, I didn't play a whole lot of levels, so I was thinking, okay, we gotta be able to break a lock to get to the castle. I'm more than likely. So So yeah, I dived in 6-6. That didn't go well, and I'm like, oh great. Which pipe was it to the end there? And I'm sort of reevaluating. I'm like, okay, I gotta break a lock. So it's probably that one at the bottom there. So I gotta find a fort then. So so I ended up going back and doing the other path there to the other fort. Unfortunately, that was correct one. And yeah, like I said, I think I played an extra level there. That last level, where I could just use the pipe to get back to that area.
Oh yeah, and Growlwolf and I noticed in the first seed MaCobra that it really paid off. I think you were in the World 2 overworld map, and before you entered the level transitions in order to show up on the second half of the map, you played one of the Hammer Bros there, and that gave you an extra cloud. So that gave you an additional advantage over Stewie pretty early on in the game. So is that something you would normally do in a, or does the meta pretty much change from seed to seed for you? You have a consistent meta?
Yeah, kind of. You know, if it's early, you want to play some Hammer Brothers, see if you get lucky with your items there. But yeah, I remember that there was a cloud there, and cloud 7-5, correct? Is that the right one?
Yeah, you clouded 7-5. I think that was at
Yeah.
the beginning of World 3 in one of them.
So yeah, that worked out nicely. I could have yellow clouded the pyramid spot, but you know, it's still early, so I held on to it just in case. But yeah, in general, yeah, early game you want to go for items. You know, not go too overboard, depending on what you get. But you know, it doesn't hurt, especially in bracket flags where you don't have end cards to rely on.
Yeah, it's definitely a good point. You want to give yourself as much items to work with because you know at the beginning of any race is usually the most scary part because you know being small Mario, being pretty vulnerable, not necessarily guaranteed as you go from level to level. If you're gonna have easy access to a question block, that'll give you something good. So it's good to have at least a couple items, at least 2 or 3 that you can fall back on in case you encounter some awkward situations later on.
Yeah, for sure. Especially later, you know, if you end up taking hits during levels later on, you know, you have these items to rely on to get you back to speed. So you don't have to play. You can generally play faster, not as safe, and take some risks that way, because you have those hits to spare. You know, you don't like scout for power ups and whatnot. It's a great stash to have there.
Looking ahead, it looks like the next matchup that's going to be more or less directly related to you is that of Pro A 007 and Shark Kid. And then, of course, you'll take on the winner of those. Any thoughts on the upcoming races that you have?
Well, for one of those over the other by a long shot. but yeah, looking forward to it. I imagine it'll likely be a rematch of last year's championship, but we'll see. Looking forward to it.
It was mentioned by one of the runners earlier that we play with that it is a bit of a stacked matchup this year. 19 runners that we currently have in the tournament. Definitely a really good showing from that regard. Anybody that you're thinking is going to take it at this point? You think you're going to take it all the way?
Of course, I'm gonna take it all the way, right? Nah, once you get to this top 16 or whatever, it's anybody's. You know, we're all at that high level of play, and it can really flip either way. I mean, you got Hacksaw and Mitch in there. I mean, they joined last minute, and they're definitely worth us to go across there.
Yeah, I would say that. I would say they're both predominantly vanilla SMB3 runners, but whenever there's a randomizer competitive event, you can often see them coming out of the woodworks. And even though you don't really see them play randomizer that much, they really tend to perform at their best. I'm pretty sure that Mitch won the last tournament, and then I think Haxel was a really strong contender towards the finals as well.
Right, the 2020 tournament. Yep. Which me and him were butting heads there. We made it all the way to Game 5 there. I mean, could have gone either way, but yeah, Mitch is definitely one of those top contenders there. No surprise.
Yeah, as Growlwolf said, this is indeed a really stacked bracket. I mean, you have a really strong chance. I know. Yeah, I could definitely see a lot of really strong names to look out for. So, just due to the nature of randomizer and just the fact that so many binary decisions between forts and item usage can really swing things one way or another, definitely see things, you know, and pretty much anything can happen. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how the bracket advances over the next couple of days. So yeah, in the interest of wrapping things up, do you have any other closing thoughts, MaCobra?
That's pretty much it here. I'd like to thank SpeedGaming for hosting SpeedGaming Live this year. So far it's looking pretty good. Looking forward to remaining matches and looking forward to the rest of the tournaments going on here. Thank y'all to the comms, restreamers, and everyone else who makes this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely like to echo those sentiments as well. Big shout outs to SpeedGaming for hosting this event and many others that are going on through the week. And yeah, thank you, Growell, for being an awesome co-commentator with me. It's been a lot of fun. Really looking forward to seeing, just keeping an eye out on the matches moving forward.
It is always a pleasure, and to be completely honest, as soon as I saw who I was on commentator booth with, I told my wife it was going to be a really good time. It has certainly been a really good time. Shout outs to MaCobra and Stewie Cartman as well for putting on an excellent performance. A wonderful exhibition of seeing what some things could happen. There's not many tricks, if any, that we didn't see today, between the wrong pipe being used, a Jesus clip in there, as well as some really cool clips, and even a fight with Bowser. We were going for a frog fight with Bowser. Unfortunately, that didn't quite happen, but still very entertaining nonetheless. And a huge thank you for chat as well for being here and making this interesting and fun as well. So thank you all.
Yeah, Stewie for getting that Jesus clip. That was crazy.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, just as in the interest of other things to look out for the SpeedGaming Live event, coming up next on this main channel, we have at 5 p.m. an open block for our crowd control race. At 6:20 p.m. we have the Ocarina of Time randomizer with Gavarion 1 versus Namaha. 10:15 we have Zelda 1 randomizer with Fred Coughlin and Chester, and 11:15 we have a Link to the Past randomizer with Relkin and Fear Agent. So don't go anywhere. We have a lot of exciting stuff to look forward to, and have a good night, everybody.
Absolutely. Take it easy, everyone, and until next time, keep randomizing.
Oh, my apologies. Yeah, as Growlwolf mentioned with the schedule update, at 5 p.m. coming up next, we do have the Super Mario Maker 2 race with Germ Dove and Zero Planes. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And with that, yeah, do definitely give our racers a follow. And it's been a great time, and have a good night, everybody.